I might actually need this morning. It's good to be back here with you again at West Twin Grove. I have to say that slowly. I don't know why I've had trouble saying that, but my wife Dawn's had to help me with that sometimes, but I think it's pretty safe to say that we've both enjoyed worshiping here with you, so it is good to be back again. We're going to be looking at words today. Words have power. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Words that most of you probably recognize. You probably know where those words originally came from. JFK, John F. Kennedy, spoke those words many years ago. We haven't heard those words much lately. It probably would do us well to hear those words again. I have a dream. Again, more powerful words. Pretty famous words spoken by Martin Luther King Jr. A part of Martin Luther King Jr., I'm trying to make sure I said that right, actually became a part of what became known as the I Have a Dream speech because of those particular words. The man took his family to the restaurant, and his 6-year-old son asked if he could say grace. As they bowed their heads, he said, "God is good, God is great. Thank you for the food, and I would be even more thankful if Dad would get us ice cream for dessert. Amen." Now it's interesting that you would laugh at that, because among the laughter from the nearby customers in the restaurant, there was also a woman who remarked, "That's what's wrong with this country. Kids today don't know how to pray, asking God for ice cream. Why, I never." Hearing this, the 6-year-old burst into tears and asked, "Did I do it wrong? Is God mad at me?" The father assured him that he had done a terrific job, and God was certainly not mad at him. Just then an elderly gentleman approached the table. He winked at the 6-year-old and he said, "I happen to know that God thought that was a great prayer." "Really?" the boy said. "Cross my heart," the man said. And then in a kind of a theatrical whisper, he added this, indicating the woman whose remarks had kind of started the whole thing. He said, "Too bad she never asked God for ice cream. A little ice cream is good for the soul sometimes." Naturally, the father bought ice cream for the kids at the end of the meal, and the son stared at his, and then he did something remarkable. He picked up his sundae, and without a word, he walked over and placed it in front of the woman. With a big smile, he said, "Here, this is for you. Ice cream is good for the soul sometimes, and my soul is good already." Words have power. Whether it was the words in the boy's prayer or the woman's words. I mean, the woman's words crushed the boy's spirit. And then the father's words. The father's words assured and comforted the boy. And then the elderly man came along, and his words encouraged and inspired that young boy. And then the boy's words to the woman. I can't help but think that those words kind of melted her heart that day. Proverbs 12:6 says, "The words of the wicked kill. The speech of the upright saves." And Proverbs 18:21, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." Those who love the tongue, those who love using the tongue will eat its fruit, good or bad. Words kill and words give life. Words kill, or at the very least, they can kill someone's spirit, like the woman's words to the 6-year-old boy. God spoke the universe into existence. Jesus calmed the sea, and he healed the lame, even raised the dead with his words. And we are made in God's image. Now, I would never try to claim that our words compare with the words of God or have the same kind of power as God's words or Jesus' words, but still our words have power. And we don't have to be in a position of power or leadership either for our words to have power. Just think about the example of the 6-year-old and his words to that woman. Words kill and words give life. You've probably all heard this one. It seems like I used to hear this phrase that I'm going to share with you a lot more when I was younger. Maybe we don't hear it anymore, but sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now, while that phrase may not be completely true, still saying those words has power. It has the power to deflect and the power to declare that I'm not going to let your words hurt me. So even those words, while they may not be completely true, have power. In Matthew 5:22, Jesus said, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. Now the word Raka here that Jesus used is an Aramaic term of contempt or abuse, meaning fool or empty head. Now I know sometimes, and again, this is something I used to hear a lot more when I was younger, and I don't know if it's still in use and I just don't hear about it, but I remember when I was younger, it seemed like there was these lists going around, like a list of bad words, or lists you can't say on, words you can't say on television, or those types of things. So it seemed like the thinking was, as long as you don't say the words that are on this list, you're fine. You can say anything you want. But that's not how it works. It's not just about staying away from a certain list of words. It's how we use those words. Like here, the word Raka means empty head. Well, there's nothing wrong with the word empty by itself or the word head. But if you put those two words together and you direct them at someone, then obviously that's not good. It's insulting to them. You're putting them down. You're discouraging someone by the way you use the words. So it's not just the particular words themselves, it's how we use those words. Ephesians 4:29 says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only what is helpful for building up others according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. A few years ago, I was doing what was known as a Fishing for Inspiration segment on a show. It was just a little show, like a talk show in Peoria. I'm sure it didn't have much viewership. But the title of the show was Inspired. And I was being interviewed by a woman named Michelle. And we were having a conversation, and at one point the conversation turned to an upcoming conference where I was going to be speaking at one of the breakout sessions. And she said that she had 3 friends that she wanted to bring to hear me at this breakout session. And I said that I hoped that I could connect with her friends and help them. And she said to me, you always do. I know you're going to help a lot of people. Wow, that's all I could think of was wow. I mean, talk about words that built up. Talk about words that encouraged. I felt so encouraged by her words telling me that I was going to help a lot of people. A British national newspaper headline read, Deborah Searle, the woman whose husband left her in the middle of the Atlantic. Now, I didn't even know this was a thing that happened, but they have races, these challenges, and it's in the form of a race where they're actually rowing across the Atlantic Ocean, 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, rowing. And if you see these boats, I mean, they don't look like a regular rowboat like you would probably think of. They're a little bit bigger than that, but still, for crossing the Atlantic, this is a pretty small boat. And her husband were part of this challenge, part of this race across the Atlantic. But just a few days in, it became apparent that he had this crippling phobia of the open ocean. Where her, on the other hand, she was kind of energized by the whole situation. She kind of loved it. But him with this crippling phobia, it became obvious that he just could not continue. So she had a decision to make. So she ended up calling. They had a satellite phone that they could use. So she ended up calling for a rescue boat to come pick up her husband. And then she decided that she would carry on this race, this challenge, on her own. And as you can imagine, she had all kinds of things to be fearful of, things that might kill her. I mean, there was the whales and the sharks. But she said one of the worst things was those big, huge freighter ships. Because these big, huge freighters coming across the ocean were not looking out for a little woman in a rowboat. But surprisingly, one of the things that she thought might kill her more than anything else was the sea turtles. These little sea turtles she thought was going to kill her, was going to break this rowing boat to pieces, because apparently there was algae or some kind of weeds growing on the bottom of the boat. So they would come up and try to eat this stuff off the bottom of the boat. Well, the boat moving up and down in the waves would sometimes come crashing down on these sea turtles. And at first she thought the sea turtle was going to come up with a cracked shell, but the sea turtle was fine. So she realized it was her boat that was cracking. So she thought at one time she was going to be killed by these sea turtles. But it turned out that the biggest problem she had to overcome while being out there in this race that originally was supposed to take 6 weeks but ended up taking her 3.5 months, the biggest challenge that she had to overcome was loneliness. Like I said, she had a satellite phone, which gave her contact with a few people. Her sister was the main one that she was in contact with. And her sister always kept telling her, whatever you need, just tell us the problem, we'll help you figure it out. And when she shared with her sister this problem of the loneliness, her sister figured out how she could hook up the satellite phone to the computer in this website, and so that anyone with a computer could send her messages. And she said that first week, she had over 1,000 messages coming into her, encouraging her. And she said some of them were even humorous. Like at one point, her sister said, "Row harder, we can't wait to fly into Barbados to see you." And then her brother said, "Row slower, the airfares are cheaper in February." But the more she thought about it, she thought about how these words of encouragement to her from all these people all over the world were free. They cost these people nothing to send these words of encouragement. So she felt challenged about how she used what she called these free words. She felt challenged to use them more positively and use them more often. The same with us. It costs us nothing to use words of encouragement, to use words to build each other up, and to use them more often. In James chapter 3, he talks a lot about the tongue. He uses several different analogies of the tongue. He compares it to a bit in a horse, how this small bit in the mouth of a horse can guide this large animal, or a rudder on a ship. A small rudder on a ship can guide this large ship and make it go wherever the pilot wants to go. Or he also compares it to a small spark and how it can destroy a great forest. But I want to share with you just a little bit of what he says specifically here, starting with verse 9 in chapter 3. With the tongue we praise our Lord and Father, and with it we curse human beings who have been made in God's likeness. Out of the same mouth come praise and cursing. My brothers and sisters, this should not be. Can both fresh water and salt water flow from the same spring? My brothers and sisters, can a fig tree bear olives, or a grapevine bear figs? Neither can salt water produce fresh water. So James is asking the question, can both fresh water and salt water come from the same spring? And the answer is obvious, isn't it? No, it cannot. Salt water and fresh water cannot both come from the same spring. So are we a spring of salt water, or are we springing forth fresh water that is in us? I want to tell another story. I call it the coffee cup story. I don't know how many of you are coffee drinkers. If you're not a coffee drinker, maybe when I say coffee, you want to think of your favorite drink, like Coke or whatever it is. It might help you follow my story a little bit better. So let's say you're holding a cup of coffee. When someone comes along and bumps into you, and you spill coffee everywhere. Why did you spill the coffee? Well, you would probably say, well, because somebody bumped into me. But that's the wrong answer. You spilled coffee because it was coffee that was in your cup. If you had had water in your cup, you would have spilled water. What is in the cup is what spills out. If someone bumps into you and you spill your drink, whatever it is, do you lash out at them with anger, bitterness, and harsh words? Or peace, humility, and forgiveness? Saying, oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. It was an accident. We'll clean it up. What we're filled up with is what spills out. You've probably heard the term garbage in, garbage out. I've heard it mainly in reference to computers. I mean, if it's programmed wrong, you get garbage in, garbage out. If there's bad information put in there, you get garbage in, garbage out. Well, we are the same way. We are the same way. Garbage in, garbage out. Or it could be good in, good out. In Matthew 12, Jesus says, "You brood of vipers, how can you who are evil say anything good? For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. A good man brings good things out of the good that is stored up in him, and an evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in him." Jesus reminds us that the words we speak are actually what the heart is full of, what we are full of. Even our own words, it's kind of like we recycle things sometimes. So even our own words can fill us up to where we just recycle those words again and again. One of my favorite quotes is, "Avoid negative people, especially yourself." Avoid negative people, especially yourself. Try this. Try removing one word from your vocabulary. The H word. H-A-T-E. Don't use it about food. Don't use it about the weather. Don't use it about work. Don't use it about traffic or the way other people drive. And especially don't use it about other people. Condition your tongue. Give it a try. Remove that one word, and I think you may be surprised. You can change your words and condition your tongue. The tongue is like a muscle, right? It is a muscle. And how do we condition our muscles? We work them out. We use them in a good way, a way that makes them stronger. The same way with the tongue, we can condition the tongue. We can't bear good fruit. We can't produce fresh water unless that's what is in us. So what are we filling ourselves up with? Jesus said the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. What are we filling ourselves up with? In the same way that Darrel, the woman who was crossing the Atlantic in a rowboat, felt challenged to use her free words. We should feel challenged to use our free words more positively and use them more often. Use them to build up and not to tear down. You know, the Bible is God's Word. The Bible is instructions for us on how to live. And today we're looking specifically at words, how we use our words. But obviously, God has quite a bit to say about that, doesn't He? The words of the wicked kill. The speech of the upright saves. The tongue has the power of life and death. And those who love it, those who love to use the tongue, will eat its fruit, whether good or bad. Words kill, and words give life. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up, according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. Let us pray.